Hello and welcome back to Breeze Gaming. Today I have a tutorial for you looking at how to draw lines and curves inside of Python with Pygame. So what we have here today is I'm inside of Jupyter Notebook and I just have a basic framework set up. And what we're going to be doing is drawing straight lines and then drawing curves. So we'll be using pygame.draw.line and lines for multiple straight lines and then pygame.draw.arc to draw curves. So before we get started with drawing the lines, let me walk through the framework I have just in case you're not sure what some of these parts are. I'm going to walk through the framework I have, and then we're going to get started drawing the lines. So to get started, I just have in my import and initialize module up here, I just have import Pygame, system, and math. And then I'm initializing Pygame down here so we can use it. So the reason that I'm importing math is because when we go to draw the curves, we're going to be using pi. And so we're going to be using math.py to draw those curves, so we need to import math. So once I return this, all that should be good. And then this is the display module that I have. So in this cell, what I'm doing is I'm creating the screen that we're going to draw on top of. In order to draw anything in Python with Pygame, you need a screen, a canvas to draw on top of. So that's what we're doing here. So I just did screen equals pygame.display.set mode, which is setting the size at 1000, 1000. And then pygame.display.set caption is simply just giving it, sorry about that, is simply just giving it a title, a caption. That's all it is. And then screen color equals white. I'm just setting the color of the screen. But it's important to note that I don't draw the color onto the screen until down here when I do screen.fill. But that is all the display module is. The next cell right here is just a basic while loop, and this simple loop is just allowing the game to run and the screen to run and for everything to be able to be drawn onto the screen. So it's just a simple while loop, a simple game loop here. I just have for event in pygame.event.get, and what this is doing is looking for any events inside of my game loop. And then if event.type equals pygame.quit, so what this is saying is if there are any quit events. So a quit event is something that's going to exit out of the game. If there are any quit events, then pygame.quit and then system.exit. So that is the simple loop I have right there. And then after the for loop, I go into drawing everything. So first I draw the screen, and I've mentioned this before in previous videos, but whenever you go to draw anything inside of Pygame, you want to keep in mind the order that you're drawing things. It's like building a sandwich. You don't want to start with the meat. You want to start with the buns and then put the meat on top. So, keep in mind the order you're drawing. So we are going to draw the screen first, and then we're going to draw everything on top of the screen after that. This is screen.fill, and then screen color. The screen color is the variable that I designated up here as white, and so it will fill the screen with a white color. Next is draw images, and this is where we will draw our lines and curves right here. And then at the end, we just have pygame.display.update, which just refreshes and redraws everything and starts the loop over and repeats the process. So to get started here, we're going to first just draw a simple line. So all we're going to be concerned about is a straight line. And before I go to draw the lines, let me go ahead and run everything just to show you what we're working with. So whenever I run all this, this is what it pulls up. This is my 1000 canvas. And when you go to draw anything inside of Pygame, you have to keep in mind the coordinate system that Pygame uses. So if you're familiar with the traditional XY graph, if you've seen it in math class or elsewhere, what it usually does is it has 0, 0, the 0, 0 axis on the bottom left down here. And when you increase X, it goes right. And when you increase Y, it goes up. However, in Python, in Pygame, it starts at the top left. So whenever you increase X, it goes right, but whenever you increase Y, it goes down. So it does a different thing than traditional graphs do. So keep that in mind whenever you draw anything. Whenever you start drawing lines, just keep that in mind. So this is 0, 0 at the top left, and then 1000, 1000 down here. This would be over here 0, 1, 1000, and then this would be 1000 0 down here. So just keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to first draw our straight lines. We're going to do pygame.draw, and then we're going to do line. And then the first thing we always do is we set where we want the object to be drawn. So the screen is the variable that I designated as the screen that, the canvas that pops up. So you always want to say what you're drawing on top of, and then you want to designate a color. In this case, I'm just going to make a green line. And then next, what we'll do is we'll designate the location. So how this will work is the first thing. So a line will have 2 points. It'll have a start and an end point, and you want to tell Pygame where you want to start and where you want to end it. So let me just put like 50-50 here, and then on this next one, I'll put 100-100. So this is just telling the location of the points that the line will connect between. So the start of the line will be at 50-50, and then the end of the line will be at 100-100. And then next, we want to designate the width. You don't have to put anything here. It's the default width is 1, but if that's too thin, I'm just going to put 5 to designate the width. So when we run this, yep, everything looks good. I'm going to run everything. All right, so this is the line. So it's hard to see. It's at the top. I'm actually going to make it longer. I'm just going to make it like 800. There we go. A bigger line that's easier to see. Here we go. All right, so here's the line. So this is a line that I just drew. So it's on top of the screen. It is a green line, and the starting point is at 50-50, which is at the top left. And then at 800-800 is down here towards the bottom right. And it has a width of 5. So that is how Pygame looks at lines. You designate points, and then it draws lines between the points. Now, that is how you draw a simple line. The biggest thing to keep in mind whenever you're drawing a line is just keep in mind that the coordinate system for Pygame starts at the top left and not the bottom left. So let's go ahead and clear this out. And we are going to next draw a multiple line. So I'm going to quote that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw multiple lines now. So it is just a slight difference between drawing a basic line. So you're going to do pygame.draw.lines. So this is if you want to draw, you have like multiple points that you want to draw lines between. That's basically what we're doing. So it's going to have the same basic setup. We want it on top of the screen, and we want it to be green. But next is we're going to set a Boolean. So this determines whether or not the lines are connected. So we want to put false for this. And then the next thing we're going to do is designate all the points that the line's going to go to. So we're going to do, let's do like 50-50. And what we actually want to do is put these in parentheses. So we're going to do 50-50. And then how about 50,000? I'm trying to think of the shape I want to make. Not 1,000, like 800, that works. 50, 800, and then the next we'll do, I'm trying to think. Yeah, let's do 850, 850. We're going to make a little in sort of shape, and then we're going to do 800, 800. So what we're doing is we are drawing 4 points right now. So we have 4 designated points that are all inside of the brackets here, and each point is covered in parentheses. So each one is an X and Y, and there are 4 points that are designated. So what Pygame is going to do is it's going to draw a green line that's connected. So this is, like I said, is the Boolean. So if I designate it as false, that means all the lines will be connected. And then 50-50, 50, 800, 850, and then 800, 800. And then at the end, we want to put the width. So I'm going to do 5 again. And then when we run this should give us our lines. There we go. So awesome. So just like a little backwards in there. So what this has done is it has drawn a green line for us, and it has drawn it between each of the 4 points that we designated, starting at the top left with 50-50, and then 250, 800, and then 850, and then 800, 800. And what it's going to do is it's going to draw a line between all the points that you designate. And that is how you draw, multiple lines, or, a better way to think of it is just, you're connecting multiple points together with lines. And so that's how you draw multiple lines. So now that we've looked at how to draw a straight line, and we've looked at how to draw multiple lines, we're going to look at how to draw a curved line. And this is where a math.py comes in. So what we're going to do is, actually, I'm going to quote this out. I'm going to restart the cell. and we're going to do pygame.draw.arc. So that's what it does. So arc, and then it is the same basic setup, screen, and then designate the color. But this time, when we go to do the points, we're going to do pygame.rect. And then there are 4 numbers that we're going to enter here. The first 2 is the position. So I'm going to put it at 400, 450, 450, 450, which is about the center. 500, 500 is the center, but I'm going to do it a little offset, 450, 450. And then the next 2 are the height and width. So what I'm going to be drawing is just a basic arc. And these first 2 values will designate the location, so X and Y. Then the next 2 will designate the height and width of the arc. So the first one, height, I'll just say 200. And then the next one, for the width, I'll say like 400. Now, the next thing we're going to do is there's 2 values that we're going to designate. And this is the specific angle of the arc that we want to do. So what I'm going to set it as is 0, and then math.pi, and then the width is 5. So when I run this should spit out, make sure I have it correct. Yep, there we go. So it spits out an arc. So I will explain the math.pi in a second, but this is basically what it looks like. So we want to draw it on the screen. We designate it as green, and then we do pygame.rect, and that allows us to do a height and a width. So we do X and Y, 450, 450, and then we do the height and width, which I designated as 200 height, and then the width is 400, and then 0 is the starting angle, and then math.pi is the ending angle, and then 5 is the width. So explaining the angle part, and in order to explain this angle, I'm going to pull up for y'all the unit circle. Yes, this might be a flashback for some of you. So essentially what this does is it uses pi to determine the angle of the circle of where it starts and where it ends. So, and what it uses is 0 and pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2. It determines the starting and ending angle. So when we pull up our arc here, it starts on the right. So 0 is the right. 0 is right here, and it matches with the unit circle. And then over here is pi. So that's on the far end. So that's what we did. We set the starting angle as 0, and the ending angle is pi. If we switch it up a little bit and we do, let's say, math pi over 2, I'm going to put that in parentheses, and then we run it, it is going to spit out something a little different. And there it is. So it is a little different this time. So what we did is we designated the ending spot as math.pi over 2, which is pi over 2 right here at the top. So it changed our ending position from over here to right here. So keep in mind that it starts on the right. The starting angle 0 is on the right, and then we moved and we did pi over 2 on the left. We could switch it up and do it the other way. So either way is fine. But that is how you draw an angle, and that's what the angles mean. It utilizes the unit circle in order to do that. So 0 was our starting angle, and then math.pi over 2 was our ending angle up here. And you can designate any point in the unit circle that you want your circle to go to. And I recommend pulling up, if you're trying to make certain semicircles or certain shapes, you can always pull up the unit circle to know what kind of degree of pi you want to use, essentially, that you want your semicircle to be drawn in. But if you want a basic arc, you can just use 0 as your starting angle and pi as your ending angle, and that'll give you a basic arc. But that is how you draw a curved line. So we looked at how to draw a straight line, how to draw multiple lines, and then we looked at how to draw curves inside of Pygame. So that is how you do all 3 of those. It's just pygame.draw.line or .lines or .arc. Just keep in mind these slight differences between each one, and specifically the inclusion of math.pi when you're trying to draw curves. So that will be all for today. Thank you for listening. That is how you draw lines and curves with Pygame inside of Python. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you, and bye.